You know that feeling, right? You
Yeah.
decide you want to learn something new, like really dive in.
Yeah.
Maybe coding or a language. Could be anything, really.
Yeah.
Work skill, hobby.
Mm-hmm.
Start gathering things, articles, videos. Maybe you sign up for a course online.
Great. You get all excited.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, well, you kind of hit a wall. It's just information overload.
Oh, yeah.
You
Totally.
feel a bit lost, maybe kind of intimidated. And sometimes you just, stall out before you really get going.
It's super calm. I mean, there's so much info out there, which is great, but also tricky.
Tricky is a good word for it.
Moving from just like reading or watching to actually knowing it, being able to use it. That's the hard part. That's where people often get stuck.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what we're digging into in this deep dive. We found some really interesting source material. It's framed as a sort of self-education blueprint, basically a conversation between a father and daughter.
Interesting format.
Yeah. And what's great is it nails these common mistakes we all make trying to teach ourselves stuff. And then it gives these like surprisingly simple, practical fixes.
Okay, so it's not just theory, it's actionable.
Totally actionable.
Mm-hmm.
It really breaks down the process, showing that good self-learning isn't just about gathering resources. It's more about how you engage with the material, and the world around you while you learn.
Right, the whole ecosystem of learning.
Exactly. So our mission today really is to unpack this blueprint for you, listening. We want to break down each pitfall they mention, pull out the strategies, make them super clear.
So you can see how they fit, like whatever you're trying to learn right now.
Yeah. Think of it like we're just chatting, maybe over some tea or chai, figuring out the smartest way for you to move forward on your learning journey.
Sounds good. Let's dive in.
Okay, let's start where the blueprint does. The first big hurdle they flag is something called application delay.
Application delay. Okay.
This is basically highlighting that gap, between when you first learn something new and when you actually do something with it.
Ah, right. You watch the tutorial, read the chapter, and then life gets in the way.
Exactly. Maybe you don't touch it again for days or even weeks sometimes.
And the source says that delay is just deadly for remembering it. Right.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
If you don't use it fairly quickly, your brain is like, okay, guess that wasn't important, and starts, clearing house. It doesn't stick.
Makes sense. Your brain needs proof that the info is actually useful, something worth keeping.
Right. So the blueprint suggests a very specific fix, quite powerful, actually. Apply any new concept within 48 hours.
48 hours. Wow, that feels quick.
Yeah.
Especially for complex stuff. How do they say you can manage that?
They talk about using what they call micro projects.
Micro projects.
Yeah, like small, focused tasks
Mhm.
that are designed specifically to use the one thing you just learned.
Okay, so give me an example. Like, say I just learned about for loops in Python.
Exactly that example, actually. Don't just watch the video on loops. That same day, or maybe the next, write a tiny bit of code that uses a loop.
Doesn't have to be amazing, just functional.
Totally.
Yeah.
Maybe it just prints numbers 1 to 10, or repeats your name a few times. They mention simple things like a basic calculator function, or a program that asks for your name and prints it.
Okay.
The point isn't building something polished. It's just getting hands-on immediately, making the concept do something.
Got it. So it shifts you from just taking information in to actually putting something out almost straight away, makes it concrete, tells your brain, hey, pay attention, we use this.
Precisely. And that leads really nicely into the next part, because once you start applying things, even small things.
How do you know you're doing it right?
Exactly. Which brings us to pitfall number 2, feedback avoidance.
Ah, the lone wolf learner problem.
Yeah. Studying, practicing, all by yourself. You're working hard, but you never let anyone else see what you're doing or give you any input.
The source had a great analogy for this, didn't it?
It did. Like cooking a new dish, spending hours on it, but never letting anyone actually taste it.
Right. You might think it's amazing, but you have no idea if it needs salt or maybe less spice or if it's just bad till someone else tries it.
And gives you that honest feedback. In learning, that outside view is just crucial.
Yeah, it helps you spot mistakes you're completely blind to. Or maybe shows you a much better way to do something.
Or just confirms, yep, you've got it. Validates your understanding. So the blueprint's fix here is pretty direct. Share your work weekly with others.
Weekly. Okay, that adds some accountability too. But who are these others? Where do you find them?
Good question. The source specifically mentions using online communities.
Ah, okay.
Think places like Reddit, maybe specific Discord groups for whatever you're learning, coding, languages, design, whatever, or specialized forums.
So not necessarily finding a one-on-one tutor, but tapping into like the hive mind.
Exactly. Leveraging the collective knowledge, the willingness of people already interested in the same thing.
And the benefits go beyond just corrections, I imagine.
Oh, for sure. The source points out it keeps you motivated. You feel part of something, you see what other people are struggling with or succeeding at. You learn from their stuff too.
Right. Stops you feeling like you're just stuck in your own little echo chamber.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, now let's shift gears to something, well, something I think a lot of us are guilty of. Resource overload.
Oh boy, yes. The endless pile of bookmarks, saved videos, half-read books.
Totally. This is about collecting way more learning stuff, courses, books, articles, you name it, than you could ever realistically get through.
The source compared it to hoarding recipes but never actually cooking anything, right?
Spot on. And it's not just, like, inefficient. It can be paralyzing. You have so many choices, you don't know where to start, or you jump between things constantly, never finishing.
It feels overwhelming. So what's the fix they suggest?
It's called the one in, one out rule for resources.
Okay, one in, one out. Like for closet space, but for learning materials. How does that work?
It's pretty simple, but it needs discipline. Basically, before you start any new resource, a book, a course, whatever you have to finish when you're already working on.
Ah, so it forces completion.
Exactly. Forces you to focus on finishing rather than just collecting more and more.
So if I'm halfway through that, say, digital marketing course,
Yep.
I can't just jump into that cool new SEO book I found until the course is done.
That's the principle. Finish what you start. And they suggest a really practical tool for this.
Huh?
Just a simple spreadsheet.
A spreadsheet to track books and courses.
Yeah. Just list the resources you've decided to use. Have a column for status like in progress, completed.
Okay. Like a visual checklist.
Exactly. It helps you see clearly what you're committed to, what needs finishing, and it actively stops you from just drowning in potential learning stuff.
Keeps you focused. I like that. All right, moving on then. You're applying stuff, getting feedback, managing your resources. But how do you actually know if you're improving?
Great question. That brings us to the next pitfall. Measurement neglect.
Measurement neglect. Okay, so this is about not tracking your progress properly.
Precisely. Not having clear, objective ways to see how you're doing over time. You might be learning loads, but if you don't have evidence, it can feel like you're just spinning your wheels.
Which is super demotivating.
Totally. You're putting in the work, but you lack that tangible proof that keeps you going. And it also makes it hard to see what learning methods are actually working for you.
Right. So what's the blueprints fix?
Create weekly skill assessments with objective criteria.
Weekly assessments that you make for yourself. How would that work? Like, what's an example?
They gave a good one for language learning. Let's say you're learning Spanish.
Okay.
Record yourself speaking, say, 10 specific sentences. Do it every single week. Then you compare the recordings. You can objectively hear if your pronunciation is better, if you're speaking more smoothly, if the grammar's improving.
Ah, I see. It's concrete evidence.
Exactly. And they suggested something similar even for, like, understanding concepts. Record yourself explaining a concept you just learned, maybe pretending you're teaching it to someone.
Okay.
Then, the key part is review these recordings, maybe monthly, seeing how much better you can explain something now compared to a month ago. That's powerful.
Like looking at old photos, they said.
Yeah, exactly like that. You see the change, and it gives you a real boost.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, what's the final piece?
The final pitfall they cover is environment underestimation.
Environment, like where you study.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Basically underestimating how much your physical surroundings affect your ability to learn. Trying to learn in a place full of distractions.
Right. No matter how focused you try to be, if the environment's working against you.
It's an uphill battle. They use the example of trying to study in the living room while someone's playing video games or the TV's blaring.
Yeah, good luck with that. You're just constantly fighting to keep your attention on track.
Right. Your physical space really impacts your mental space, your ability to focus, to absorb stuff. So the fix is design a dedicated learning zone with physical cues.
A focus corner, I think they called it.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Intentionally setting up a specific spot that is only for focused learning. And the setup tips were simple but smart.
Like what?
Use specific things that signal to your brain, okay, it's learning time now.
Could be anything, right? Like a specific lamp you only turn on when studying.
Could be. Or a particular chair, maybe adding a plant to that desk corner. Even a specific, like, subtle scent, if that works for you.
Interesting.
The idea is creating an environmental trigger. When you sit there with those cues around you, your brain starts to automatically associate that space with concentration. makes it easier to drop into that focused state.
They mentioned the father's example, right? How he always did his accounts somewhere specific.
Yeah, at the dining table.
Hmm.
Because over time, that spot just felt like the right place for that kind of focused task.
Okay, so it's about conditioning yourself through your environment.
Exactly. So let's quickly recap this whole self-education blueprint we've just walked through.
Yeah, let's pull it together.
The core strategies, the fixes for those common problems are: 1, apply new stuff quickly, within 48 hours, using micro projects.
2, get feedback regularly. Share your work weekly, maybe in online communities.
3, manage your resources, use that one in, one out rule, maybe track with a spreadsheet.
4, measure your progress. Create those weekly objective assessments for yourself.
And 5, value your environment, design a dedicated learning zone with focus cues.
Got it. 5 key actions.
And really, applying these strategies is what shifts you from just being a passive consumer of information.
To someone actively building their own skills and understanding.
Yeah, that feels like the real shortcut to learning smarter, to actually hitting those goals you set for yourself, whether it's, for a specific qualification, a job skill, or just pursuing something you're curious about.
And the source mentioned something extra too, didn't it, about memorization?
Oh yeah, good point. It briefly touched on a newsletter that apparently offers specific exercises and checklists just for improving memory.
So if pure retention is a big sticking point for you, that might be another specific thing to look into, building on these broader strategies.
Right. It suggests you can get even more granular with techniques.
So as you're listening to this, thinking about your own learning goals right now. Maybe that language you want to learn or that software you need to master.
Consider this. Of those 5 strategies we talked about, quick application, getting feedback, managing resources, measuring progress, or setting up your environment, which one feels like the biggest hurdle for you right now?
Yeah. Which one resonates the most or feels like the area you neglect the most?
Maybe the most powerful first step isn't trying to tackle all 5 at once. That could be overwhelming in itself.
Good point.
Maybe just pick that one strategy that really jumped out at you. The one you thought, yeah, I really don't do that.
And just commit to trying that one thing this week.
Exactly. Just focus on implementing that one piece and see what kind of difference it makes in your own deep dives into learning.